I'm over here. Can you see me? As all British Columbians know, you can't control the weather. You just gotta roll with it. This week, I'm rolling in the clouds in Squamish. Of course, the great thing about mountain weather is that it doesn't stay the same for long. And sure enough, the clouds cleared and I got to enjoy some stunning views. Squamish sits halfway between Vancouver and Whistler at the head of Howe Sound. This easy access to both mountain and ocean is why it's billed itself as Canada's outdoor recreation capital, and the opportunities for outdoor activity are endless. The town sits on the flat valley floor, surrounded by towering mountains, including a famous local landmark, the Squamish Chief, a favorite with local climbers. Getting up the mountain is now much easier with the opening of the Sea to Sky Gondola, a spectacular ride up past the Chief and onto the peaks. At the top, you can test your nerves on the high suspension bridge, enjoy hiking in the alpine scenery, or just enjoy the view. I couldn't visit here without trying some outdoor sport, so I've arranged a climbing lesson with guide Sean Pickersgill. I've never tried climbing before, so I'll admit I'm a bit nervous. Sean has obviously done this many times. He makes it look easy as he sets up the rope for me to have a go.
We have this pad of our foot is really all we can get touching the rock. But if we do that with our modern sticky rubber, we can stick to surprisingly steep things if we just trust that rubber.
Belay on?
On belay.
Climbing?
Climb on.
Oh wow, it's amazing what the shoes do.
Yeah, they're really sticky, huh? You just have to trust them.
Well, that's easy for him to say. Oh man, this is hard. But it's way more of a workout than you expect. I think I've been eating too much recently.
And so now you want to get into that position for lowering. So leaning into the harness, trusting the rope, trusting the system.
This may not look very high, but let me tell you, it sure feels it.
Really, really tough thing to learn.
Yeah, it's just so unnatural.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good enough for me. It'd be fun to make it to the top, but... Okay, I've learned that rock climbing is a lot harder than it looks. I think I've earned a drink, and I know just the place. Squamish is home to Howe Sound Brewery, which is celebrating its 20th anniversary. This is my first visit here, and I'm really looking forward to it because its first brewmaster was John Mitchell, who was one of the founders of Spinnaker's. To celebrate their 20th, Howe Sound Brewery went back to John's recipe for the first craft beer ever brewed in Canada.
That's the Troller Bay Ale, and our version of it, some, I guess, 34 years later. Well,
I'm excited. Cheers, guys.
So this was actually one of the first crafts to hit North America.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really lovely for, the first of its kind. It has that refreshing, sort of tongue-cleaning feel, but then a nice biscuitiness from the malt in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
It's a low-hop beer, but you can get the maltiness, the biscuity flavors coming through in that beer that really made it stand apart completely from the highly carbonated, very light styles of lagers and pilsners that we saw at that time that were produced by the big brewers.
It's really hard now to imagine the impact that this beer had when it first appeared.
When these guys down in Horseshoe Bay started brewing this beer, there were buses of people that were coming to Horseshoe Bay.
Just to taste real beer.
That's right.
He couldn't keep up. I think the first story was, what did he brew?
Well, I think they were sold out of their beer and they didn't have any,
In 2 days, they'd
craft
sold all their beer.
Yeah,
You know,
so
Wow.
it wasn't on tap for about a week and they thought that all hell was going to break loose.
Yeah,
right? You know,
yeah.
there
so.
was riots outside.
Luckily for today's beer fans, there is little danger of the brewpub running out of beer under the watchful eye of the current head brewer, Simon Youngsma. And the streets of Squamish are safe from the risk of rioting. The brewery is a lot more advanced than in those early days, but the malts are still just as important.
This is where we keep all of our specialty malted barleys. We have mainly malted barley, a little bit of wheat, and a little bit of rye as well that we use in some of our different recipes. So this one's kind of caramelly, has some
taste it.
toasted, nutty toffee notes.
What beer do you use this guy in?
That'll go in anything. This one's actually all milled out to go into our English IPA, so it gives it a little bit of a caramel flavor, a little bit of a roasted note as well.
Like most small craft brewers, House Sound now produces a wide range of beers, but they are all still brewed right here, using local ingredients whenever possible.
It's gone back and brought our history forward to today and brought back some of the flavors that disappeared for a long, long time. But with that, now they're on a whole new frontier where they're exploring a lot of new flavors and styles that were never really seen before.
The fertile valley floor in Squamish is good farming land, and I'm visiting a local farm next. Nutrient Dense Farm is a small organic farm where I found Lindsay Cornwell, surrounded by blue boxes. What's going on here?
Well, I'm actually packing our CSA boxes today, which is a community-supported agriculture box.
Okay.
So basically what we do is you pay up front, and what happens is every week we go out and harvest, and then we come back here and we divvy up what we have and we pack the boxes for them. Then we end up putting them in the fridge, and they come between 1 and 7 p.m. and pick up their harvest box.
I would certainly be excited to get this. What else do you include in your boxes?
Well, we do mixed seasonal vegetables. So we do anything from tomatoes, cucumbers, mixed greens.
I see you have some
Potatoes.
nice new potatoes here.
Yeah,
across the
anything that
board.
you could get at a grocery store, we would
And
grow.
how much would it cost me?
For our spring box, we do 11 weeks. It's $20 per box, so it's $220 for the 11-week season for the spring.
Right.
It's $400 for the summer season, which is 16 weeks. And I'm trying to talk my partner into doing a fall and winter box. So basically you're taking a risk. You're putting your money up front for us and giving us what we need to initiate our farm in the beginning stages. So for seed, for new implements, for fertilizers, for everything that we need to get started. And I love our CSAers because they actually understand that they are taking that risk.
as well.
Yeah. And that your food does come with dirt on it. It's not going to be beautiful like
It's
it
very
is in
nice
the-
dirt.
And it's freshly harvested. And you're getting the nutrients in them too.
One restaurant that everybody mentions in Squamish is Fergie's. It is the place for breakfast. It's a bit of a journey to get here, but it is well worth it. Well, the location is just amazing. Like you're in the middle of the temperate rainforest on a whitewater river. Like it's just incredible.
Yeah, it's perfect. But we took over 6 years ago, and the place was really run down. When we took over, the guys we bought this place from, or whatever you do, don't try and open a restaurant here because people are never going to come out of town. It's off the beaten track. People have tried and they've failed.
Jason, you've got a lot going on in a little space.
It's a tight space, yes.
Very cool. So I'm seeing a lot of eggs. Is that kind of what
Primarily.
you guys do here?
Primarily breakfast. We built our name on breakfast.
Okay. So what would you say is like your most popular breakfast?
Bennies. We do
Across the
bennies.
board,
We do
bennies.
bennies really well. This
All
is the
right.
smoked salmon. So avocado, smoked salmon. This is the base for the Dubliner, which is just some
Granny
Julian
Smith's?
apple.
Okay.
And then this one has some chev and avocado.
Got approached by two girls who they wanted to open a restaurant. So we were like, oh wow, this is cool, and new, like maybe a source of rent. But they were like, no, we haven't got any money. We want you to pay us. So we sat down and we were like, okay, how are we going to do this? And I guess the words of the previous owners were ringing in our ears, and we were a bit nervous. But we opened this place on $5,000, which is nothing.
So this is some braised black organic kale with some pickled onion. This one is what has, I guess, taken Fergie's to where it is. People love this gunny. So it's bacon, cooked for a really long time with pickled onion and the julienne of apple.
Ah, interesting.
I think the first day we sold 2 coffees, literally, and now 5 years later we're pretty busy.
Hollandaise, which you can never have enough of.
No, absolutely not.
A couple chives, a couple fried capers for the salmon.
People are pretty passionate about Fergie's, and the food is awesome, but it's kind of the whole experience. It's not just coming to eat the food, it's coming to eat the food, to wait a little bit.
To enjoy the outdoors while you're waiting.
Exactly, to take a walk by the river. So I think it's rather than just going for a meal, it's going for a Fergie's experience.
Right,
Kind of the
so
difference.
like food plus an outing at the park.
Exactly, yeah, combo.
Caught in the act, but hey, Squamish is keeping me really busy. I'm here at Gillespie's Fine Spirit to meet the booze witch of Squamish. Gillespie's opened in 2014 and already produces an amazing range of spirits and non-alcoholic mixers, all made from locally grown ingredients. Their tiny industrial unit houses the still, handmade from locally salvaged industrial waste, and this wonderful cocktail lounge tasting room, where Booze Witch, Kellyanne Woods, concocts her potions. So, Kelly, truly, you've lived up to your title as Booze Witch. This is a fantastic cocktail. You gotta tell me what's in it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is pretty much all of our ingredients that we make at the distillery. So we have our gin that we call Sin Gin, a new wave, new American style gin. This is our new elderflower elixir. So it's an elderflower syrup, basically. And then there's a little bit of our peach lavender shrub in that. That's a drinking vinegar. So then you're getting all those nice peach flavors and lavender flavors, and it all works really well together.
Right.
And then we usually source farm fresh eggs to just give it that really nice viscosity and a really nice
That
foam.
true sour.
Truths,
yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Wow, like, everything together is absolutely amazing.
Oh, I'm so glad.
But just from that description, so you guys are more than a distillery.
My husband John, of course, makes the spirits. He's the master distiller here. And then my whole sideline that actually came when I was pregnant with our 5.5-month-old son, I got really tired of drinking cranberry soda everywhere I went. So I started to get really interested in, well, what's the non-alcoholic world like? And then how does it work with the alcohol itself?
With the comeback of the art of cocktail mixing, the non-alcoholic world has grown a lot more interesting, with some new words, like shrubs.
Shrub was the term they used in the turn of the century. It's from around the 17th century that shrubs were being made. And shrubs were basically a way that they preserved fruit. So it was by using vinegar and sugar to preserve fruit. So that was technically the term. So there were shrubs, and there was also something called a switchel. And a switchel is a ginger shrub. So now we call them sipping vinegars or drinking vinegars, but the traditional term is a shrub.
Right. And now your elixir. Elixir to me is sort of, it's on the more magical side, the apothecary side.
Well, a little bit of my background is a little bit more of the magical and apothecary side. So hence the booze witch. Indeed, it doesn't come it's just not just a name, I guess I could say. So,
interesting.
Yeah, that's a bit of my.
Well, you've enchanted me already.
Thank you very much. Well, I grew up on 109 acres in the middle of the forest, and the way I grew up, you just start to look at the natural elements. And so I was washing my hair with apple cider vinegar in the moonlight at 10 years old and doing love potions. And I guess it all kind of evolved from there,
Along with the mixers, Gillespie's produces gin, vodka, and limoncello, part of a growing trend towards small craft distilling.
It's a fascinating thing to be part of right now because it's the inception. There were, before Prohibition, there were over 200 distilleries in the Lower Mainland. After Prohibition, there were 7.
Wow.
So the whole industry is starting to rebuild and build itself from the hangover of Prohibition.
Well, Kelly, I can't thank you enough. I'd say cheers to recovering from hangovers.
Ali, you had way too much fun over there in Squamish with the Booze Witch at Gillespie's Distillery. I'm glad to see you made it down off the rock wall. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and recreate a shrub. Today we're going to make a cherry and tamarind, which we're then going to use in a hollandaise. Today I'm using some beautiful cherries from the interior, and we're also going to work with some tamarind. It's very sticky, it's very sweet, but once again, it's also got that quite citrusy, very lemony flavor to it. So it's quite unusual. It's very, very nice in a lot of different things. So I had equal parts of water and sugar into here. This is coming up to the simmer. Basically, it's all parts equal. So we've got equal parts water, sugar, cherries, and vinegar. The cherries are now going to go into the sugar syrup. We'll bring that right up nice and hot. Bring that up to a simmer. Tamarind can also go in at this point. Okay, and that will soften up. And so what we've got there is a nice simmer going on. We'll just drop that temperature down and we'll let them do their thing for a few minutes. You can see they've started to soften and they've just started to break down a little bit. So we're now going to add our remaining vinegar. This is apple cider vinegar. We'll bring that back up so that it comes back to the simmer. We'll give that another couple of minutes. So now for the hollandaise. Separate your eggs and just use one shell into the other until the egg white is all in the bowl there. There we go. And our shrub is now finished. So if you can see into there, the cherries are still intact, but they're starting to soften. They're just starting to pop a little bit. And we'll just gently pour that beautiful mixture out. And there we have our shrub. Now, whenever you're making a hollandaise, you always want to have an equal volume of liquid to your egg yolks. So in there, I've got 75 mils of liquid. So I want about 75 mils of liquid in there. And I can pour that in while it's still warm. Okay, my butter is just about melted there. That's fine. We take our nice deep bowl over the boiling water and we whisk the egg yolks and the shrub together until we create almost a custardy type texture. It should be slightly thickened. I've got my water on a fairly firm boil. Okay, and if you can see in there, you can see it's starting to thicken up. We have to do this quite continuously, and there we go. You can see how that's. So there's our egg yolks, slightly thickened. And then we can just finish whisking or melting that little bit of butter there. And then a little trick here is to take a cloth and make a rope. And then you can just sit your bowl in. And that holds the bowl nice and steady while we add our butter. Okay, and our butter's almost melted. It doesn't have to be completely melted, that's fine. Now, while I'm doing this, I am going to poach my eggs. Good pinch of salt. And then I'm going to take my eggs and break them into a bowl. It just makes it easier to put them into the water. And here's the thing. Right now the water is boiling. I've just turned the water off. Okay? And then I'm just going to let that egg drop the leading edge of the bowl into the water. Okay? Let the hot water go around the egg. Just sort of set the outside. And then slowly let it roll out. No heat, we've turned that off. We'll just put the lid on, we'll leave that right there. Now we're ready to add our butter to our hollandaise. And just gently bring those two together. Everything's warm, so that little butter that's not melted soon melts. Now if you make your hollandaise too thick, if you add too much butter, just put a few more drops of hot water in there. And there we go. Shrub hollandaise. Okay, so our eggs are poached, our hollandaise is made. The only thing we have left to do is just give our kale, our beautiful baby kale, just a quick little saute, just enough to wilt it. And I don't want to cook it too much, but I just want to soften it up very, very lightly, a little bit like you would spinach. And kale is one of those superfoods, super high in all those really great nutrients that we need more of. Baby kale, tender, delicate. It's not as bitter as the mature kale, so you can actually eat it just like it is. So just a tiny little knob of butter into the pan and just get that butter foaming. Okay, so there we go, just a little bit of smoke coming off of there. Nice handful of that kale. Just drop it into the pan. Keep it moving because you don't want it to be browning on one side. Okay, so just a little salt, little pepper. Literally 30 seconds is all this is going to take. You can see how as it starts to cook, it just starts to wilt. There we go. You can see how much it reduces once it starts to cook. And then we'll just place that in the center of the plate.
There's something about that warm kale salad with hollandaise that, to me, just screams gin and tonic. I don't know why. And for that gin and tonic, I've chosen the Sin Gin from Gillespie's Fine Spirits. I've chosen this specific gin because of the botanical flavors. I think the fruity botanicals in this gin will really increase and enhance the shrub flavor in the hollandaise. My time in Squamish really did make an impact. For the beer pairing, I've chosen the House Sound King Heffy. This is a big Hefeweizen, and I think those banana, clovey, fruit tones are, again, really going to play off the kale and the shrub-infused hollandaise. I really like this pairing.
For more great recipes, ask for the Flavors of the West Coast cookbook in your local bookstore